Israel now possesses one of the most dangerous weapons in the world. The conflict between Israel and Palestine has been going on for a while now. However, it seems like the end is near. This Israel newly acquired weapon, an American M777 155mm howitzers, is capable of laying waste to threats in a matter of seconds, and Pakistan has been at the receiving end of its lethality. Where did Israel acquire such a fearsome tool? Is this enough to bring an end to the devastating conflicts between these two countries? Join us as we delve into the capabilities of these American howitzers and how Pakistan reacts to this threat. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which started in the late 1800s and early 1900s, had taken an unexpected turn. The war started when Hamas attacked Israel on October 7, killing about 1,200 people, mostly civilians, according to Israeli reports. In Gaza, more than 33,000 people have been fatally injured, with 70% being children and women, according to the health ministry run by Hamas. Israel says its forces try to avoid civilian casualties, accuses Hamas of using civilians as shields, and claims there are no restrictions on delivering aid. Now, this event involves Israel's use of highly destructive howitzers to attack Pakistan. The M777 howitzer, a British-made 155mm artillery piece, has also been adopted by the ground forces of countries like Australia, Canada, Colombia, India, Saudi Arabia, Ukraine, and the United States. Making its combat debut in the war in Afghanistan, this powerful howitzer has since become a key asset in modern military arsenals around the globe. Developed by BAE Systems' Global Combat Systems Division, its main contract management, as well as the manufacturing and assembly of titanium structures and recoil components, takes place in Barrow-in-Furness, UK. The final integration and testing are done at BAE's facility in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, US. Depending on the year, contract, and systems package, the cost of each M777 has ranged from approximately $2 million in 2008 to approximately $3 million in 2017. This weapon started being developed in 1987 as the ultralight field howitzer by Vickers' Armaments Division in the UK. When BAE took over, they largely adapted it to American standards. Using about 70% US-made parts, including the gun barrel produced at the Watervliet Arsenal. Weighing 4,200 kilograms, the M777 is 41% lighter than the 7,147 kilogram of the M198 howitzer it replaces. This weight reduction is mainly due to the use of titanium. The gun barrel also acts as a towing bar, with a connecting ring forged as part of the muzzle brake. The M777 can be transported by helicopter, cargo planes like the C-130 Hercules or C-5 Galaxy, or towed by vehicles weighing over 2.5 tons, such as the FMTV and MTVR. It needs a minimum crew of 5 compared to the previous 9, with a typical crew of 8. With a minimal crew, the firing rate slows down. The M777A1 and M777A2 have a digital fire control system similar to those on self-propelled howitzers, like the M109A6 Paladin. This system helps with navigation, aiming, and positioning, allowing for quick setup and use. For the Canadian M777, it combines traditional sights with a digital fire control system called the Digital Gun Management System, made by Leonardo MW. This system includes parts of the Indirect Fire Control software suite developed by the Canadian Army's Land Software Engineering Center. The Leonardo MW part, known as LINAPS, was tested earlier on the British Army's 105mm L118 light gun. The M777A2 can use the M986 Excalibur 155mm GPS-guided shell, which enables precise targeting up to 40 kilometers away. This nearly doubles the coverage area of a single battery to about 1,250 kilometers square. The tests that were undertaken at the Yuma Proving Ground showed that 13 out of 14 Excalibur shells fired from up to 24 kilometers, 15 landed within 10 meters of the target, indicating high accuracy. In June 2012, Golf Battery of the 2nd Battalion, 11th Marines from Camp Pendleton, California, fired the Excalibur shell at a distance of 36 kilometers in Helmand Province, Afghanistan. This was the longest operational shot ever made with the M777 howitzer and the longest operational artillery shot in Marine Corps history. Typically, the barrel of a modern artillery system, like the M777, needs replacing after firing around 2,500 rounds. This 777 is also the cornerstone of Ukraine's artillery might. The M777 155mm howitzer, manned by an 8-person crew, can unleash 5 rounds per minute and reach targets up to 25 miles away with the right ammunition. The U.S. has bolstered Ukraine's defenses by supplying nearly 200 of these powerful howitzers and over 2 million artillery rounds. Additionally, the Pentagon has provided specialized munitions like the M718 remote anti-armor mines, which scatter anti-tank mines, and the M982 Excalibur, a precision-guided round capable of striking targets up to 25 miles with high accuracy. These munitions have proven crucial on the battlefield. In March, as Russian forces and Wagner Group mercenaries attempted to seize Volodya in the Donbas, a Russian mechanized column met a devastating fate at a choke point. Ukrainian forces fired M718 ram shells, saturating the area with anti-tank mines. The result? Over 30 Russian tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, and armored personnel carriers were destroyed in rapid succession. What was the effect of this destructive weapon in Palestine? On November 2, 2023, Will Lehman, a Mack Trucks worker and the rank-and-file socialist candidate for UAW president, released a video demanding the immediate stop of production for equipment and munitions used by the Israeli military. In his statement, Lehman supported the Palestinian General Federation of Trade Unions' call for workers worldwide to stop building and transporting weapons for Israel and to act against companies supporting Israel's actions. He pointed out that the UAW leadership has ignored this appeal, with UAW President Shawn Fain, endorsed by the DSA, inviting President Joe Biden to Michigan to appear supportive of workers. As of now, the UAW leadership has not responded to the Palestinian Union's call to halt the production of war equipment. On October 22, over 1,100 General Dynamics workers in Ohio, Michigan, and Pennsylvania planned to strike, but the UAW announced a last-minute deal to prevent the walkout at this major defense contractor that supplies weapons to Israel. Over 10,000 Palestinian civilians have been affected by the Israel Defense Forces. In just 1 month, the IDF has fatally injured 4,000 children through bombing. In response to the violence, which has been supported by Biden and European powers, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called Gaza a graveyard for children. Most victims died in their homes, tents, or shelters, either instantly from bomb impacts or from collapsing infrastructure, leaving them crushed or suffocated under rubble. Civilians hear bombs whistling for several seconds before they hit and explode. Independent journalists like Motaz Aziza and Eye on Palestine on Instagram have captured footage of Palestinians trying to rescue their loved ones from the rubble daily. The IDF, funded heavily by American tax dollars, has one of the most advanced militaries in the world. The U.S. has spent over $130 billion on weapons for Israel since 1948. The IDF even uses American-made warplanes to bomb Gaza, including 40 F-35 advanced Lockheed Martin stealth warplanes, with a total of 75 ordered 196 F-16 multi-purpose planes by General Dynamics and Lockheed Martin, and 83 F-15 fighters by McDonnell Douglas. These warplanes are equipped with bombs, missiles, and guidance kits, primarily made in the United States. According to Al Jazeera, almost all the bombs used are from the Mk-80 class, which dates back to the Vietnam War and comes in sizes from 120 kilograms to 1,000 kilograms. By early November, Israel had dropped 25,000 tons of ammunition, which is about twice the power of the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima in World War II. These bombs have several important parts, with the most crucial being the Joint Direct Attack munition. The JDAM is an add-on kit that gives an Mk-80 bomb or another dumb bomb the ability to use GPS guidance, making it essential for targeting in modern warfare. All of the world's JDAMs are made by Boeing in a factory in St. Louis, Missouri, while most of Israel's Mk-80 bombs are produced by General Dynamics in Garlandale, Texas. These two large facilities are key points in the flow of weapons and equipment from the Pentagon to Israel. There are hundreds of other factories, mines, and ports that help produce, source, or distribute materials for the tanks, fighter jets, ammunition, and other devices used by the IDF in Gaza. Israel also has one of the largest defense industries globally and makes its main battle tank, the Merkava 4. While union membership in the U.S. defense industry has decreased since the 1980s, many weapon-producing factories are organized under the United Auto Workers or the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers. With U.S. assistance, Israel has developed its own defense industry and is now the world's 9th largest arms exporter, specializing in advanced tech rather than large-scale hardware. Between 2019 and 2023, Israel held a 2.3% share of global arms sales, mainly exporting to India, the Philippines, and the U.S., according to SIPRI. In 2022, these exports were worth $12.5 billion, according to the Israeli Defense Ministry. Unmanned aerial vehicles made up 25% of the exports, followed by missiles, rockets, and air defense systems, and radar and electronic warfare systems. In September, just before the war, Germany signed a $3.5 billion deal with Israel to buy the Arrow 3 missile defense system designed to intercept long-range ballistic missiles. This deal, Israel's largest ever, required U.S. approval since the system was jointly developed. Israel hosts a massive U.S. arms depot established in 1984 to ensure quick access to supplies for both U.S. troops in the region and Israel in emergencies. Following the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the Pentagon sent about 300,000 155mm artillery shells from this war reserve stockpile ammunition Israel to support Ukraine. Since the start of the Gaza war, reports indicate that munitions from this stockpile have also been supplied to Israel. It is no news that Israel exports many weapons, but relies heavily on imported aircraft, bombs, and missiles for its powerful and destructive air campaigns. Some groups and politicians from Israel's Western allies believe arms exports to Israel should stop because they say Israel isn't doing enough to protect civilians and ensure they get enough humanitarian aid. On Friday, the UN Human Rights Council supported a weapons ban with 28 countries in favor, 6 against, and 13 abstaining. The US and Germany, which supply most of Israel's arms, voted against the ban. Germany said it did so because the resolution did not specifically condemn Hamas. Who is Israel's largest supplier of weapons? Definitely, the US is the largest supplier of arms to Israel, helping it create one of the most advanced militaries in the world. Between 2019 and 2023, the US supplied 69% of Israel's major conventional arms, according to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. The U.S. gives Israel $3.8 billion in military aid each year as part of a 10-year deal to ensure Israel maintains a qualitative military edge over its neighboring countries. Israel has used U.S. grants to buy F-35 Joint Strike Fighters, the most advanced stealth aircraft ever made. It was the first country after the U.S. to receive and use the F-35 in combat, ordering 75 and receiving over 30 so far. Additionally, $500 million of the aid funds missile defense systems like the Iron Dome, Arrow, and David's Sling. These systems have been crucial in defending against rocket, missile, and drone attacks from Palestinian groups in Gaza and other Iran-backed groups in Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. After Hamas's attack on October 7, President Joe Biden announced increased military support for Israel. Since the war began, 2 major U.S. military sales to Israel have been publicly approved: 14,000 rounds of tank ammunition worth $106 million and $147 million worth of components for 155mm artillery shells. U.S. media reports suggest that the Biden administration has also quietly approved over 100 additional military sales to Israel, including precision-guided munitions, small-diameter bombs, bunker busters, and small arms, which didn't require formal notification to Congress due to their lower dollar amounts. Despite recent deliveries, SIPRI's report notes that the total volume of Israeli arms imports from the U.S. in 2023 was nearly the same as in 2022. A notable exception is an $18 billion deal for up to 50 F-15 fighter jets, which was revealed this week and requires congressional approval. Even though these jets will take time to build and deliver, the proposed sale is expected to spark intense debate within President Biden's Democratic Party. Many party members and supporters are increasingly critical of Israel's actions in Gaza. Senator Elizabeth Warren has expressed her intention to block the deal, accusing Israel of indiscriminate bombing in Gaza. Germany is the second largest arms supplier to Israel, making up 30% of imports between 2019 and 2023, according to SIPRI. In 2023, Germany sold €326.5 million worth of weapons to Israel, a tenfold increase from 2022. Most of these export licenses were granted after the October 7 attacks. The German government stated in January that these sales included €306.4 million in military equipment and €20.1 million in war weapons. According to the DPA news agency, the war weapons included 3,000 portable anti-tank weapons and 500,000 rounds of ammunition for automatic or semi-automatic firearms. Most of the export licenses were for land vehicles and technology for developing, assembling, maintaining, and repairing weapons. Chancellor Olaf Scholz has strongly supported Israel's right to self-defense during the war. Although his stance on Israel's actions in Gaza has softened recently, and there has been some debate in Germany, the arms sales do not seem to be at risk of being suspended. Italy ranks as the third largest arms supplier to Israel, but it accounted for only 0.9% of Israeli imports between 2019 and 2023. These exports reportedly included helicopters and naval artillery. Last year, sales of arms and munitions amounted to €13.7 million. According to National Statistics Bureau ISTAT, cited by Ultraeconomia magazine, between October and December, €2.1 million worth of exports were approved, despite the government's claim that it was blocking them under a law banning weapons sales to countries at war or violating human rights. Defense Minister Guido Crosetto told Parliament that Italy had honored existing contracts after careful review, ensuring that the materials wouldn't be used against civilians. The UK's military exports to Israel are relatively small, totaling €42 million in 2022, according to the UK government. The Campaign Against Arms Trade reports that since 2008, the UK has issued arms export licenses to Israel worth €574 million. Many of these exports are for components used in US-made warplanes that end up in Israel. However, there is increasing pressure on the British government to suspend these exports. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has emphasized the UK's very careful export licensing regime and stated that Israel must act in accordance with international humanitarian law. The UK government is also preparing an assessment for early 2024 to evaluate the risk of Israel breaching international law. Despite this, a senior government source told the BBC that an arms embargo on Israel is not going to happen. Meanwhile, Canada's arms sales to Israel were worth $21.3 million Canadian dollars in 2022. In January, the Canadian government announced it had suspended new exit permits for weapons to ensure they comply with Canadian law, although existing permits remain valid. Hamas, on the other hand, gets its weapons by smuggling them in or making them locally, with some help from Iran, according to the CIA's World Factbook. While Israel and the US haven't found clear evidence of Iran's involvement in recent attacks, experts agree that Iran has been Hamas's main military supporter for a long time. Iran sneaks weapons into Gaza using secret tunnels or boats that avoid the Mediterranean blockade. Bilal Saab from the Middle East Institute in Washington said that even though Israel and Egypt try to destroy these tunnels, Hamas still has a lot of them. Daniel Byman from the Center for Strategic and International Studies noted that Iran has sent Hamas longer-range weapons through these tunnels. Charles Lister, also from the Middle East Institute, added that Iran ships more advanced ballistic missiles to Hamas by sea, in parts that are assembled in Gaza. After most of its smuggling routes were blocked, Hamas started making its own weapons using materials recovered from Israeli attacks. Despite being a densely populated and resource-poor area under a strict blockade by Israel and Egypt for over 16 years, Gaza has endured numerous Israeli military operations and bombings. Yet Hamas has managed to build a surprisingly large and advanced arsenal, including a variety of rockets and light weapons. Senior Hamas officials assert that most of their weapons, such as small arms, ammunition, rockets, and explosive devices, are produced locally. Abu Obaida, the elusive spokesperson for the Al-Qassam brigades, declared in a January speech on Al Jazeera that all their combat weapons, from bullets to rocket-propelled grenades and anti-tank systems, are made in Gaza. The way Hamas makes its weapons is somewhat of a mystery, however. It is believed that Hamas can produce improvised explosive devices, rockets, suicide drones, and rocket launchers at the very least. Hamas's weapons factories in Gaza are thought to heavily rely on repurposing materials salvaged from Israeli attacks on infrastructure, including homes and roads. Many Israeli bombs and artillery shells dropped in Gaza fail to detonate, allowing Hamas to extract explosive components and repurpose materials for their own rockets. Also, Iran has also openly admitted to funding Hamas and training its members to make their own weapons. While Iran also sends weapons to Hamas, however, the exact delivery methods are unclear. Egypt claims most smuggling happens by sea, with secret shipments dropped miles off the coast of Gaza. Investigations show that some weapons used by Hamas in Gaza and Israel were made in Iran, China, Russia, North Korea, and Bulgaria. However, it's uncertain whether these governments directly supply Hamas with weapons or if they were bought on the black market. Even though Hamas has shown better military and weapon-making abilities than expected, the Israeli Defense Forces is believed to remain much stronger. Thanks for watching. While you are still here, click on the link on your screen to check out another of our videos. See you there.